Hey, Bankless Nation, welcome to this edition of Meet the Nation. Today, we are going to explore the world of Perpetual Protocol. Perpetual Protocol just released their V2, which is exclusively on an Ethereum sidechain on XDAI, and they also have plans for other future L2 roadmaps as well. And they have pioneered the world of, just like Uniswap, concentrated liquidity. And that is the cool new thing that is all about Perpetual Protocol in its V2 implementation. We also go into conversations around Perpetual's PERP token and how it functions inside of the Perpetual Protocol ecosystem, and also talking about how it got distributed, which has its own unique little story as well. I really hope you guys enjoy this conversation, and I hope you learn all about Perpetual Protocol. Before we get into the interview, however, we have to take a moment to talk about some of these fantastic sponsors that make this show possible. Bankless is proud to be supported by Uniswap. Uniswap is a new paradigm in asset exchange infrastructure. Instead of a cumbersome order book system where trades are matched with other humans, Uniswap is an autonomous piece of software on Ethereum, which is what Ryan and I call a money robot. No human counterparties or centralized intermediaries, just autonomous code on Ethereum. Input the token you want to sell and receive the token you want to buy. Something brand new in the Uniswap ecosystem is the Uniswap Grants program is now accepting applications for grants. We have been saying this for a while and we'll say it again. DAOs have money and they are in need of labor. If you think that you have something to contribute to the Uniswap DAO, apply for a grant to Uniswap. Just look at the size of the Uniswap treasury. It's almost $3 billion. This mountain of capital is looking for labor. Do you have something of value to contribute to the Uniswap DAO? No matter how big or small your idea is, you can apply for a uni grant at unigrants.org and help steer Uniswap in the direction that you think it should go. That's exactly what we did to get Uniswap to be a sponsor for Bankless, and you can do the same for your project. Thank you, Uniswap, for sponsoring Bankless. Balancer is a powerful platform for flexible automated market makers. Typical AMMs just have two tokens inside of one liquidity pool, which can lead to fractured liquidity across the many pairs in DeFi. With Balancer, you can access the full power of multiple tokens inside of one single AMM, which unlocks an entirely new playing field of possibility. This makes Balancer an awesome building block for so many different use cases. Balancer pools can make asset indices, but instead of paying fees to portfolio managers, Balancer lets you collect the fees from traders who use your portfolio for liquidity. Additionally, Balancer smart pools can be programmed to have properties that change according to predetermined rules, such as changing the swap fee based on market conditions, or even liquidity bootstrapping pools, which can help you launch and distribute your token with day one liquidity. At Bankless, we use a liquidity bootstrapping pool to sell our BAP t-shirts to much success. Balancer V2 brings powerful new features that makes your money work even harder for you. In V2, idle tokens are capable of generating yield in DeFi without sacrificing liquidity in the pool using Balancer's asset managers. Balancer's vault architecture lets you trade between Balancer pools at a fraction of the cost versus trading on other platforms. Balancer's mission is to become the primary source of liquidity in DeFi by providing the most flexible and powerful platform for asset management and decentralized exchange. Dive into the Balancer pools at app.balancer.fi. All right, Bankless Nation, I am here with Yenwen, Feng, and Nick Tong. Yenwen is the co-founder of Perpetual Protocol, and Nick Tong is the head of strategy. And Perpetual Protocol came onto my radar when I discovered that they used Balancer as a token distribution event and using Balancer's bootstrapping liquidity pools. And I haven't actually delved too deeply beyond that, other than understanding that it's a trading suite of services for trading perpetuals, as the name suggests. But we are going to go ahead and dive into Perpetual Protocol today. So Yenwen and Nick, thanks for coming to the Bankless Meet the Nations to go ahead and introduce Perpetual Protocol to the nation. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So Yenwen, as a co-founder of Perpetual Protocol, maybe you can kind of give a little bit of the background for how Perpetual Protocol came to be. How did the team form? Where did the idea come from? Where was the initial inception of Perpetual Protocol?
Sure. That's a long story. So my co-founder and we actually kind of fell down the crypto rabbit hole in 2018. So at the time, ICO, of course, that's pretty interesting. Like lots of people join on the boat, but we actually spent lots of time, researching, and we found that building a derivative in on blockchain is very interesting because, we really want to, in blockchain, everything is a token. So, we try to find a concept that we can build a token on top of another token. So that's an interesting concept. So we actually start with options. So at the time we have, we are trying out an option protocol, but we failed. The market crash, of course, but I think we failed to have a compelling story about like how the option market will grow on blockchain or on Ethereum. After that, actually, because we talked to Bankless a lot at that time, so we ended up joining the Bankless lab, which is an accelerator for crypto startups. So we ended up building like accounting software at that time, working with like accounting firm in San Francisco. After a year, we are still like very interested in the DeFi space, and we see the growth of UNISWAP and Synthetics in like 2019. They actually, we know UNISWAP at the beginning, but we don't really understand the kind of the power of AAM. But after we see the traction, we actually kind of like understand AAM actually is a big part of the ecosystem. So we actually pivot, we drop that accounting software, and then we go back to DeFi, and then we want to build a derivative AAM. So we start from like 2020, we pick Perpetual contract as the product that want to build AAM on top of it. So so we spent like several months building this, and then we launched it. Actually, that's December, and until now it's actually 7 months. Yep. So it's working quite well. We got lots of trading volume. We have around like 20 billion, which is a really high number. Last year when we start, we think we should, it's really good if we can get 10% of the Binance market share. At that time, Binance is trading, I think like 300 million per day, but that's actually what we are trading right now per day. So the market grows very fast, and then it's really cool to see a product that we can grow to this stage. Yeah. But I think that's a story for us. Yep.
I think the interesting about that story is that you guys seem to not really have, you guys didn't come from like a perpetual swaps background. You guys were looking for something to build. I feel like your story is a little bit of, you guys are seeing the power of DeFi. You know that there's something here, and you were just looking for a financial primitive to like kind of plant your flag in. And it just so happened to be perpetuals. Would you say that is an accurate story, an accurate depiction?
Yes, kind of. I'm an engineer, so I kind of like believe that I can build everything. But I do have like some like financial background. I like the concept. Like options or like other derivative. I build tools. Probably like 10 years ago, I built like tools for banks, for a brokerage house. So yeah, but perpetual contract is something we pick. That's actually the right answer because it's actually the easiest one, I think.
and every time I have perpetual swaps and perpetual contracts explained to me, I like understand it, and then like I sleep and I forget it the next day. And I feel like that's largely true for like the average Bankless listener. So maybe you can explain perpetual contracts, perpetual swaps, what they are, and what kind of user in DeFi would be attracted to this sort of product.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So let me start first. So perpetual contract is, BMax actually kind of like invented this, back in like 2016, I think. And why they, at that time, there is actually no like stable coin. There are, Bitcoin is big at that time, and then there are some altcoins. And so they want to build this platform, but it's really hard to build a spot trading platform because everyone is on different chains. It's not like ERC20 right now. Most of the tokens are on Ethereum, so it's a totally different world. So they come up with this idea that it's like futures, but it actually expires per day. And then because you use kind of another concept, the funding payment that try to make sure the market price is aligned to the underlying. But conceptually, it's a future that expires very fast. So this financial instrument actually can trace any index. So BMax actually create this, and then they want people to trade Bitcoin, but they don't really need to accumulate lots of Bitcoin within BMax. They don't need to have that underlying. So that's the beauty of futures or perpetual contract. So BMax, I mean, so they have this platform. They can trade any asset, any crypto asset they want, but they don't need to have underlying. So the same for us as well. So we are building on top of SDAI or Ethereum ecosystem, but on our platform you can trade DOT, you can trade Bitcoin. So we have like assets from other chain, but we don't really need to bridge those tokens onto Ethereum. So I think that's the most benefit that we have. Yeah.
I'd say the other thing which is interesting is that traditionally people have been looking kind of for leverage, I guess, and before kind of perpetual swaps came along, it was either you had to kind of borrow the asset, like in this case it's margin trading, and trade, but then it's actually super expensive if you look at like the cost to actually borrow. And so from like a capital efficiency perspective, perpetual swaps makes a lot more sense. And secondly, I guess it's kind of in between from a complexity perspective, it's probably a little bit more complex than kind of like your margin trading, but it's a lot simpler than like, let's say, options, right? Like, and so you can still leverage, and it's still kind of, it becomes quite an accessible product to more regular traders, which is kind of one of the key kind of vision that, or kind of the key missions that we're trying to do is how do we make these products a little bit more accessible, and how do we kind of simplify them so the average retail trader can understand and can harness and can use it.
That was really helpful. And so I really like that mental model of somewhere between options, which I still don't understand, and just basic margin, which is the easiest thing to understand. So and I know you guys have a bunch of cool stuff that came out in V2, and that's partly why you're here. But before we get there, let's go through the user story of what it's like to use Perpetual Protocol. And so I'm assuming there's a collateral or perhaps multiple collaterals in Perpetual Protocol. What collateral is that? And then say I have that collateral and then I come to Perpetual Protocol, what next?
Yeah, it's super simple actually. So we have USDC as the collateral that we picked. That's just the one we started with. It was kind of the most popular one in DeFi, obviously. When a user kind of comes in, they deposit into their L2, into the XDAI wallet. That's still non-custodial. All it is a bridge from kind of their Ethereum wallet to the XDAI wallet. We actually sponsor all of the gas fees for, I think it's over $500 currently, so it's kind of free. So you can imagine when gas, like when Gwei was what, like $300-400, it's quite a nice thing. Once that's done, the user simply just trades on PERP, so they can pick, let's say ETH USDC. They pick their how much collateral they want to put in or how much leverage they want to do, and their position size, and that's it. The system kind of handles the rest. You press buy, and that's it. The other kind of neat feature that we have is we're using Biconomy right now, and what that means is the user actually doesn't have to mess around with kind of MetaMask and switching kind of the RPC, and they don't have to go in and figure out like, how do I add in XDAI as a chain? How do I switch to it? All they do is they sign a transaction, a meta transaction, and then that's it. The order's placed.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So why did you guys choose XDAI? Was that simply because of the perhaps the lack of options that we had not too long ago?
Yeah, kind of. So we start
not to
like
speak
that.
anything badly about XDAI. It's a great sidechain, but
yeah, you kind of put me in this position. I mean, so that's September. So we actually we have everything ready. We want to launch last September, but the gas price at that time is like I think like 300, 500. So open a position costs you like 100 USD which is actually impossible, I mean, for normal traders to trade. So we actually ends up, we actually deploy, but then we pull out from Ethereum mainnet, and then we want to find a layer 2. At the time, Sky and the Matic are the only choices that we can go with. And we picked Sky because the first thing is that it has been running for more than a year. And then I think the performance is good. And we have an engineer who are very familiar with Sky. So that's the main reason. Matic actually is working pretty well right now. They got a lot of traction recently. At that time, they actually just finished their POS bridge. So it's a little bit new to our team. And then, so but so that's the reason that we pick Sky. Yeah.
All right, so Nick, unless you have anything to add on to that discussion, nope. I think I'd love to jump into this recent announcement that you guys have, which is Perpetual Protocol version 2. Usually in DeFi we have version 1, version 2. You guys have a creative name for this version release. Tell us about what that name is and why that name was chosen.
Sure. So we named this version Curie, named after Marie Curie, because I mean, we want to have a theme that to honor all the scientists that built everything before us. Very so cool. I think I really like it, and it's and then the first one we pick is female that I really like. Yeah, I think that I think the whole ecosystem is mostly like, I mean, a male engineer. So I just want to put in different elements in this. Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of people who are thankful for that effort, because this industry could use more efforts like that. So let's dive into what Curie is all about. What is new with Perpetual Protocol in this Curie update?
There's a couple key pieces for us, I guess. The first one is we're introducing this concept of private markets. So what that means is, normally if you look at the current landscape, most of the time to get any kind of pair listed or any market listed, you have to kind of go through some form of governance vote. There's some form of permission to get things listed, and that's for a very good reason, because there's kind of inherent risk when you kind of list a market. So if you kind of list a token that's only kind of launched on, let's say, Uni like 2 days ago, and it kind of goes to zero, it kind of drags all of the markets, other markets down. But with kind of the private markets, what that means is anyone can kind of create a new market, and it's isolated from all of the other markets that we have. So we have this concept, I guess, of public markets and private markets, and private is kind of isolated. Anyone can spin it up fully permissionless. So that's the first piece. The second piece is
but that kind of reminds me, before you move on, that kind of reminds me of Balancer's public and private pools, where they have these public pools which are connected to all the other public pools, and then they have the private pools, which are just like, they're completely centralized, completely trusted, but at least they get to have that optionality of working under the parameters of a specific asset. Is that kind of the same mental model?
Yeah, I think the naming was especially kind of inspired by Balancer, and kind of like conceptually that was inspired by Balancer as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Sorry to cut you off. Keep on going.
Yeah. The second piece is so currently how like the pricing mechanism works for us is we utilize Uniswap's XYK model, and so as you can imagine, it's not super capital efficient, and so one of the big upgrades is we're actually utilizing Uniswap V3 from a pricing perspective as kind of like our pricing engine effectively. And what this means is we can start to kind of concentrate liquidity a lot more, and so if you imagine kind of like if we ran V1 and V2 kind of over the same time period, we'd expect even more trading volume than what we kind of saw with V1. And then the final piece is there's a lot of upgrades from kind of to get the protocol kind of on par with other centralized exchanges. So things like cross margin, things like multiple collateral types, and so forth. So there's kind of lots of these small upgrades that we're also planning to kind of get the feature set on par.
I think that concentrated liquidity element, I think, is really what sets Perpetual Protocol apart. I'm getting the gist that you guys are in the same family as kind of like DYDX. You guys are working on L2. I believe DYDX also does perpetual trading, but this concentrated liquidity element is the new thing, it sounds like, and that's definitely something that Uniswap introduced as something that's possible. And I can only imagine there's no reason why you guys also wouldn't introduce it into your Perpetual Protocol if your Perpetual Protocol is AMM based. Sounds like if anything that's AMM based can also have concentrated liquidity on it. I know you guys just went live earlier this week, but do you have any data about how much more liquid Perpetual Protocol has been in just the short recent amount of time, or is it too early to know this?
It's actually the announcement was more for what we haven't actually launched it yet. So it's been in R&D for a while, and we're hoping to get it tested up relatively soon.
Mm-hmm. And are you guys planning on launching on any of the new L2s that are coming out? Arbitrum recently opened its door to developers. Are you guys working with Arbitrum?
That's correct. We're planning on moving over there to Arbitrum.
Awesome. Awesome. And what about Optimism? Or are you guys kind of just doing one at a time?
I think it depends. I mean, so right now we have this dependency that because we use Uniswap V3, so we need to go to place at where Uniswap V3 is. So definitely Arbitrum and Optimism that we are thinking of. I don't know which one will come first, but I think they both are really good design. I mean, they're true. So definitely want to try both. Yeah.
And so other than just like saving your guys' users gas fees, are there any other benefits to being on an L2 that is specific to a Perpetual Protocol platform? I mean, everyone wants to be on an L2 because gas fees are expensive, but I would imagine people that are trading perpetuals are trading with more frequency. Is this true? And so maybe an L2 is even more beneficial to you guys. Tell us about that relationship between Perpetual Protocol and an L2.
I think that like the frequency of trades is definitely higher on kind of like an L2, and you can it's just kind of infeasible to you basically price out like an entire market if you kind of have it on L1, especially back when kind of gas costs were so high. Like as Yenwen said, like if you're paying $80 to $100 for a transaction, like only whales can basically afford to do it, and that kind of goes against what we really wanted to achieve, which is kind of this inclusion, right? So definitely, like we see that there's quite a lot of transaction volume, as well as kind of a lot of transactions themselves. So definitely L2 in kind of a very, very low gas environment is beneficial.
Yeah. One thing I want to add is that lowering the gas fee, of course, is beneficial to the users, but at the same time, it actually enlarge the design space for everything, because kind of like program traders, they can build a strategy that be so frequently that they can pick a price like every seconds or something like that. So it actually open up. People can design lots of new things because it's actually faster. So that's we actually experience this because we're on the sky. So people don't really care about the gas fee there. So they actually, they can try different things. They can actually like place order every second, and then try to build their own strategy. So I think at some point of time we took like 40% of the bandwidth of Sky, just because people can do whatever they want. So I think that definitely opened up lots of design space for the traders, for the strategy builders.
So that really sounds like Arbitrum or at least layer 2 in general is really going to become the main home for Perpetual Protocol rather than the Ethereum L1. Is that a fair statement?
I think we're just going to bypass like Ethereum layer 1 altogether. Like it's just impractical otherwise, and we'll go straight to Arbitrum or Optimism.
Interesting. So a Perpetual Protocol in theory might not even be able to be a functioning system on the layer 1, given gas fees stay above like a certain threshold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And personally, I believe Uniswap will be the same. Most people will trade Arbitrum or Optimism in the future, because right. The same thing I mean, you can trade more frequently. I think that actually enable a lot of different things.
Yeah, me and Ryan on the Bankless show, we kind of talk about how we're all kind of packing our bags, like our quote metaphorical bags, and we're all going to go to the L2. I want to get to the topic of the PERP token, but I still have a couple questions left here. So when you arrive on Arbitrum and you go into the Perpetual Protocol ecosystem, because you need to deposit collateral, right? So there seems to be like there's a contract on Perpetual Protocol's contracts on Arbitrum. It's like this little ecosystem inside of the greater Arbitrum ecosystem. Have you guys thought about anything like a Perpetual Protocol native on-ramps, as in working with payment providers or any sort of way to get people's money straight into Perpetual Protocol rather than having to, get your money deposited to the Ethereum main chain, send it over to Arbitrum, trade it for USDC? What about just shortcutting right into Perpetual? Have you guys thought about this?
I guess because it's we're not depositing into like a specific perp kind of contract. Anyone that kind of builds like a fiat on-ramp into Arbitrum, theoretically, like it works for us, right? Because all they do is they deposit it into their wallet and then they can start trading. So we've definitely considered it before.
That's not inside of your guys' scope now, is it? Right. Yeah. So
exactly.
I guess if any exchange allows you to withdraw USDC straight to Arbitrum, it's basically the same thing for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the conversation thus far. In the second half of this show, we go into the specific token mechanics of the PERP token in the Perpetual Protocol ecosystem, how it relates to other tokens that you might be familiar with in the DeFi ecosystem. And then we also, of course, go into the future roadmap for Perpetual Protocol, what comes next in the long-term innovation, the endless innovation that is DeFi, what is next for Perpetual Protocol. Before we get there, however, we have to take a moment to talk about some of these fantastic sponsors that make this show possible. Gemini is the world's most trusted cryptocurrency exchange. I've been a customer of Gemini since I first got into crypto in 2017, and it's been my main exchange of choice to make my crypto buys and sells. Gemini is available in all 50 states and in over 50 countries worldwide, and on Gemini there are markets for over 30 various different crypto assets, including many of the hot DeFi tokens, and it's one of the few exchanges that has liquid DAI markets. Gemini just launched their Earn program, where you can earn up to 7.4% interest on 26 various crypto assets. If you're tired of paying fees in DeFi, or you don't want to worry about DeFi exploits, but you still want to earn interest on your crypto assets, Gemini Earn is the product for you. Another product I'm stoked to get my hands on is the Gemini Crypto Back Credit Card, which gives you 3% cash back on all of your purchases, but paid to you in your preferred crypto asset. When I get my Gemini credit card, I'm going to make sure that I get my cash back in ETH. So whenever I buy something, I get a little bit of ETH bonus back to me at the same time. You can open up a free account in under 3 minutes at gemini.com/gobankless. And if you trade more than $100 within the first 30 days after sign up, you'll be gifted a free $15 Bitcoin bonus. Check them out at gemini.com/gobankless. The AAVE protocol is a decentralized liquidity protocol on Ethereum, which allows users to supply and borrow certain crypto assets. AAVE version 2 has a ton of cool features that makes using the AAVE protocol even more powerful. With AAVE, you can leverage the full power of DeFi money Legos, yield, and composability all in one application. On AAVE, there are a ton of assets that you can supply to the protocol in order to gain yield, and all of those same assets can also be borrowed from the protocol if you have supplied collateral. Here you can see me borrowing 200 USDC against my portfolio of a number of different DeFi tokens in ETH. I'll choose a variable interest rate because it's a lower rate than the stable interest rate option, but I could choose the stable interest rate option if I wanted to lock in that interest rate in permanently. V2 also features the ability for users to swap collateral without having to withdraw their assets, trade them on UNISWAP, and then deposit them back into AAVE. With AAVE, users can do this in one seamless transaction, saving you time and gas costs. Check out the power of AAVE at aave.com. That's AAVE.com. So like I said at the beginning of this interview, Perpetual Protocol came onto my radar with your guys' token distribution event with Balancer, the liquidity bootstrapping pool. Fantastic mechanism. That sounds like that went fantastically well. But I'd love to talk about the role of the Perpetual token in the Perpetual ecosystem. So I'm assuming it's a governance token. But what does it govern over? And is there any sort of a value capture mechanism that you guys have running with the token so far?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, we are the first team to use the Balancer LBP.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually work with Balancer team. So that's, I mean, that's really a great mechanism that for like projects want to launch their own tokens. Yeah. So for PERP token, definitely governance. And the second thing is that it's a staking. So I mean, if you are a token holder, you can stake your token in our contract. And then once you stake, there's kind of like cool down period. So once you want to withdraw, you have to wait for 7 days. But you can earn part of the fees from the protocol, so that there is a revenue stream. And also we have like staking rewards, so you can earn like an extra reward from this. That's our design. Right now, because our insurance fund, so we have this insurance fund that try to prevent that if like price move too much and then we have bad debt and we have to pay for that. So the insurance fund is not large enough. So we kind of like redirect all the fees to insurance fund first. So now we are not sharing that fees to the stakers, but in the futures that, I mean, we might do that. So that's the, I mean, the benefit for the stakers. But at the same time, the stakers kind of like act as the backstop for the whole system. So once the insurance fund is depleted, I mean, we actually will either mint more token or burn stakers token. So right now we don't burn, we just mint more tokens, but I mean, they are just kind of like the backstop system for the whole protocol. Yeah.
This model reminds me of the AAVE model, or even the maker model. Maybe not the maker model, but the AAVE token model has like, you can hold the AAVE token, but if you want to, commit to a little bit more risk by allowing your AAVE token to be the backstop in case of a insolvency event for AAVE, then you get your tokens you taken from you because you are the backstop. But in the meantime, you get extra interest payments or yield out of the AAVE protocol. This sounds like the same exact model. Are there any differences?
Yeah, I think that's like 90% similar. Yep. We actually work with Delphi Digital. I think Delphi Digital also designed the AAVE, I mean, token model. So yeah, that's I think that there are lots of similarity, I mean, between these two.
And I think
the only thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The only other thing I would add is in kind of V2 with the private markets, because individuals will need to kind of seed the initial insurance fund, and because the insurance fund is isolated, basically individuals can stake their PERP into that individual market and receive a percentage of fees from them as well. So you can imagine it's kind of obviously another layer of kind of risk or another increased risk, but you're also then compensated for that as well.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I really like it when I see DeFi projects actually passing off cash flows to their token holders, because that's one of my biggest complaints about like the legacy financial system is like there's not that much actual cash flow for a lot of traditional equities back to the shareholders, right? Like Amazon doesn't issue a dividend, Netflix doesn't issue a dividend. Sometimes they do stock buybacks, and that's a step in the right direction. But like something I really want to see out of the DeFi ecosystem is just like clear, instantiated on-chain revenues for token holders, just to signal it's like, yeah, like the value of this token is very real. And then also at the same time, the other reason why I like this token model as well is that the people that are being paid these fees, or collecting the value of the protocol, are people that have risk, right? And they're not just sitting on their hands, they have risk at stake, right? And so the people that believe in the protocol the most are likely the people that are staking. And so the people that believe in the protocol the most are the people that are getting rewarded for their alignment to the protocol. I think it's an excellent choice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I know you guys just have this brand new announcement, brand new V2, brand new products, and I'm sure you guys are itching to get this out the gate and into the hands of people who want to use Perpetual Protocol. But what's next? What comes after this? Like, what is the long-term roadmap for Perpetual Protocol?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Yeah. So I think one thing that we want to have is that, so we are building like this like decentralized system. So we want to, I mean, right now, if you look at like FTX, I think the UX, I mean, the liquidity they can provide is actually far away from us, far better than us. So I think one thing is that we want to keep up to that user experience. I think that's actually the key. That's one thing. I mean, even with V2, I think we are we are still like that behind. So hopefully we can kind of like really like we can be on par with them. I think that's the first thing, and of course, with that we have like permission market that the centralized exchange cannot do. I think that's the time we compare to a centralized exchange. This is actually a better solution. Not only this is decentralized. We have like all the decentralized characteristics. But also like we have permission market, lots of people like going through like governance. So that's definitely the goal. Yeah. The second thing is that right now
before you move on there, before I lose that thread, me and Ryan, we talk about how awesome Uniswap is because you can list any token on Uniswap, and Uniswap supports the long tail of assets, as people call it. It sounds like Perpetual Protocol does that same thing for perpetuals. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Just wanted to drive that point home.
I will say, like, just to kind of hammer that point home as well, is that you look at kind of most centralized exchanges and kind of anything that kind of has a limit order book kind of design. And most of the time, in order to list an asset, you need to have a market maker, which is another kind of gatekeeper, I guess. Right. You have to pay high fees. You got to lend them tokens. It takes a lot of time. And so you can imagine that with our private markets that we're launching, because it's an AMM design, A, you don't need a market maker for it. Anyone can be a market maker. And B, we can then do the long tail assets, as you said.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Yenwen, I think you're about to go on to another subject before I cut you off.
Yeah, sure. So I think the second part is that right now, I think we are more like Uniswap. So it's a little bit centralized. So that the team actually, design the things and then we implement. So I think after V2, we want to be more open up to the community, that people can, kind of like decentralize the organization to a DAO, kind of like that. So, kind of like Compound. So they have this really great that every vote have to come up with a piece of code. And then once it passes, you actually deploy that code. So that's definitely the roadmap. It's on our roadmap, and then we definitely want to have that.
Very cool. Very cool. So I think my last question comes to the conversation of liquidity. Nick, you were just talking about how you don't need a market maker with perpetual protocols or with AMMs like you do in a centralized exchange, but you still need liquidity. So what's the liquidity strategy for Perpetual Protocol? How are you guys incentivizing and rewarding liquidity?
I guess the really basic one, obviously, is liquidity mining. Like Uniswap, I think they just came out with kind of how you can kind of do it on V3. But I think the other point is that one of the key reasons why I guess Optimism and Arbitrum for us is kind of the composability factor. So we can start, and we're in talks to kind of partner with other protocols and other projects, and how can we kind of be the base layer, and other people either bring their own kind of market making strategies, like fully on chain ones, or people can kind of trade on PERP through other kind of venues. And so suddenly we don't need to kind of do everything ourselves, right? We can partner with other people. They're the best in class for what they do, and they can kind of bring their expertise in and build this kind of almost like an ecosystem around derivatives.
Yeah, how can other protocols use Perpetual Protocol as a money Lego, right? Are there any other applications that are building on top of Perpetual Protocol?
Yeah, we're in talks with a couple actually on how we can kind of integrate and work together. But there's kind of two general areas that people can kind of build on top of us. One is, you can imagine, around trading strategy. So how can people kind of trade on PERP, either through kind of different kind of strategies that they can expose people to. So if you think of like Yearn vaults and kind of the strategists building kind of strategies around that. And then the second piece is kind of, how do you market make on the platform? So how can other people, so there's a lot of kind of like Visor and Charm and a couple others who are kind of providing these fully on-chain strategies to Uni V3. How do they provide that then to PERP as well? And how do we kind of bootstrap the liquidity that way? So we think there's a lot of money leggers, I guess, that we can do, because we can then start to can we take a PERP market and take a Uniswap spot market, and can we kind of generate and create a strategy out of that creates yield for users? The design space is kind of massive when composability comes into play.
Very cool. Very cool. That's exciting. That's exactly what you kind of like want to see out of a protocol, is having a lot of surface area for other people to build on you. Well, guys, is there anything that I forgot to ask, or anything that you guys want to bring up, or just something I missed that is important about Perpetual Protocol that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I think that's that. Actually, that covers most of the things that want to do, and then what we have done. So yeah, I think that I don't have anything.
Fantastic. I love hearing that as a interviewer. That means I did my job. So guys, if you guys want anyone in the Bankless Nation to join the community or find out more, where should they go?
Oh, so we have a Discord. So I think you can just like search for Perpetual Protocol, and then you can
It'll be in the
find
show
our
notes.
Twitter. Yeah,
It'll be in YouTube links.
So yeah, so most of our community hang out in our Discord. So yeah, welcome to our Discord.
Fantastic. And if what's also the website if they want to actually go and use Perpetual Protocol? What's the website?
It's perp.fi, perp.fi.
Perp.fi. All right, guys. All those links will be in the show notes. Nick, Tong, strategy lead, Yenwen, Feng, co-founder of Perpetual Protocol. Thank you so much for coming to introduce Perpetual Protocol to the Bankless Nation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Cheers. All right, Bankless Nation, you guys know what to do. Go check out Perpetual Protocol. Their Discord's in the show notes. The website's in the show notes. Risks and disclaimers: ETH is risky, Bitcoin is risky, DeFi is risky. You can lose what you put in, but we are headed west. This is our frontier. It's not for everyone, but we are glad you are with us on the Bankless journey. Thanks a lot. Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless Premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless Premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content. Thanks everyone for watching and being on the journey as we build out the Bankless Nation.